And I want to share with you a very brief demo of LabV. It is not an extensive one, but I want to show you how it works. How does LabV work? I have 4 core elements. I have a data hub, which is in the background. That's where the data is imported. That's where the data is harmonized. That's basically the database and everything around so that the data can be accessible and usable, right? And then I have 3 other elements that I can show now: the project hub, the resource hub, and our AI assistant. Now, here's a story. Imagine we are one team of R&D engineers. We are in the paint and coatings industry, and we just got a request. Our sales colleague, the key account manager, just sent me an email saying we have a new request from a customer. He wants to optimize one of the products we have because he has a new application. And in the email, I have been informed that we're talking about a project which is called L257. I go into LabV, my project hub, I see my overview with different status. So the project can be in progress, planned, completed, or I can look at all the projects, and I can see here very quickly, I could search for it, but I can see here 25/7. If I open my project, I have more information than what my colleague from sales told me. So we're talking about base ink that has good properties, but we want basically to improve print quality and also reduce the print head wear. Okay, so we're talking about industrial ink for some applications on PVC and aluminum. Sounds like something we're doing, but it's a product I don't know very well, so I'm gonna have to look for it. Kindly enough, my colleague told me as well, the goal is really to find the optimal sweet spots between viscosity, conductivity, and maintaining the adhesion levels that we had, and he gave me target values as well. I could also have more information about that. It's just one configuration to give you an example. And if you go on the test parameters, he also already basically said, well, we're going to have to measure adhesion, viscosity, conductivity, maybe do some rheology if you want. And if I look at the test values, I already have the range that is here. All right, now, typically, if I had my experience, like my expertise, I know all the products we have, I would go through and start developing my formulations, right? Or optimizing. Now, I'm relatively pretty new in the team, so I don't know all the products yet. I'm going to go back to my resource library and then basically in the formulation library search for these T42, it was called, and look at the details. So it's a productive formulation, it's an ink, and it has some specifications with viscosity, conductivity, with minimum and maximum value. So I know the range of the performance already, and I can see here right away we are half away from viscosity and way too far away from the conductivity as well. So what's the composition? I see here some additives, I see some binders, pigments, and other elements. I could look that through and analyze it, but I think it's enough for a first overview. So now I have the information, I know what we're talking about, I know that we're very far away from the specifications the customer wants to achieve. What do I do? Well, I'm a trained chemist, right? So I'm trained and I know exactly if you want to reduce conductivity and increase viscosity, you have to work on additives. I'm going to just take one example for today. Imagine we're talking about conductivity. If I want to reduce conductivity, I'm just going to my raw materials here, as you can see, and I can search for the word conductivity. Oh, I made a mistake, conductive, yeah. And I see I have 2 here. So I have one, which is one I already had in my recipe, in my formulation, and I have one that I didn't have in the formulation. And the interesting part is just that here I don't only see the different details about my raw materials, so the specifications. I also have descriptions, which is here. It's obviously in German because we have a German lab in the background, but it's here that's the expertise from the people from my team. It's not something that is in a data sheet. That's nowhere. To say that it's milder and it's very helpful to have a more controlled conductivity and it doesn't oxidize, that's something you don't know on the specification. You have to have worked with the raw material to know it, right? So that's exactly how we can basically use every data we have in a very simple way. I can search through my library, or I could even go in my AI assistant and basically tell me the assistant, compare M25.1 and M25.2. I would like to reduce conductivity. Which one is better suited? So I can ask such a question. It's a little bit a long question. I could even simplify it. And then you can see here, let me retrieve the information first. And he's searching from my database. So basically doing exactly what I was doing. I'm just showing you, imagine you have now 20 and not 2. Here's 25.1. I'm telling him here. That's exactly the way I want to do it. Do the next one, have a look, and you can see here, within a couple of seconds, he's doing basically the first material, the second material, or component. He's doing a comparison here, and he's giving me a recommendation. So now imagine if you have a larger library, it took us, what, 20 seconds, 25 seconds? Within 25 seconds, you actually get a comparison and a good recommendation. So now let's skip the whole part where I can think about which additive I want to work on. I just want to show you very quickly when I keep working on the project, I leave the planning mode basically, and I have to go in the work mode. So I'm actually actively working on my formulations. The first one is a reference. So it's my first experiment, and my first experiment is basically a validation. I want to check the performance again. So I have the formulation from the top to the bottom, the formulation, one process step, and then at the end, the measurement result. It's here manual input because we don't have a viscosity, a modern viscosity equipment. If it was not, if it was modern enough, then we would have automated import of the data. And you can see here, my team has been working on different experiments. There is here, the 6.1 is basically something with a different additive here and a different and the different amount of this additive. And there is another one here as well. This one is just a validation of the first one. It's the same formulation, the same steps. I just want to be sure, and I can see one is in the range, the other one is not in the range. The conductivity is almost the same. And here 6.4 is basically another formulation with even more elements and components in there. And I can see here it's going to the right direction for viscosity, but not for conductivity. I have a sample here where I did some rheology measurement. If I open it, I can see everything coming from, in this case, it's from Netsch. The Netsch rheometer. I have the table with all the data here. So for those who are experts in rheology, you can probably relate more than I do. Or I can just have the curves display, so shear rate, stress. Well, I could also here look at other elements if I want to, but just to show you how it would look like in the everyday application. Now I have an experiment here that is empty. It's just to show you like as long as I didn't do anything, my sample is planned, but it has no reference. So I could create a new sample and start working on a new experiment. Now, we are a typical R&D team. What happens here? Imagine we are happy with the result. Imagine this one wouldn't be 1200. It would be maybe, we could even change it if we want. Don't tell my team. It would be 995. Right? So now it's basically everything in the range, right? So if everything is in the range, I'm happy with the result and the customer should be satisfied as well. Well, usually you would just say, well, I'm going to send back to the customer and ask for feedback. But what we would like to do is, well, maybe it's not just 4 or 5 experiments, maybe it's like 50. So you can ask, give me an overview, give me a full overview of project L257. And here you can see the system is working a little bit, and it's going to start retrieving all the information that I want to know about the project, from name, status, category, and everything up to then if I want to experiments to it, I could ask for the test result and so on and so forth. All right. I could say overview of experiments and test. I can add that just as an additional information. And then what we like to do in our team when we talk to our customers in our R&D department is before we send out the report, we actually calculate something on top of it. If I already know my conductivity, I actually also can calculate something called the resistivity. Now, if I don't know how to do it, how do I calculate the resistivity based on conductivity? Here I have some elements I have to take, telling him how he should answer to me, right? So it's just something that you have to learn at some point, but I can basically ask my code developer to explain to me what is resistivity even, and how do I calculate that. Now, first, maybe I can ask first, what are the conductivity results in project L257? I don't have to do that, but it's like having a discussion with a colleague if you want. And here I can see the conductivity, and I can say based on that, calculate the resistivity for each experiment in L257. And then within a couple of seconds, I have resistivity calculated so that I can communicate that with to my customer. I could create a bar chart for the resistivity results, and I'll show you in a minute why. So you can basically have what we call the co-engineer or co-developer, you name it. And this code developer is basically showing me, on a bar chart, which I can copy here. If I copy it, within seconds, he can search information, give me overviews, help me do mathematical operations, explain to me things like what is resistivity and how do I do this. It's really efficiency gain of pretty much like 50% in the whole documentation. But now if I download the report, you can see here a Word file opening, and I just have to put it here. And my report is basically everything in the project in one document. Everything is in there. All the information you need, and it's just one click and a couple of seconds. And it's in the template of your choice, of course. Really from the name and category to the results. Now I could just here, because there is some space, I could just paste the bar chart and start typing something here, right? So I could actually keep doing my report and then fine tune and then save that on my SharePoint, for example, and send that to my customer. All right. So this is basically how it works. That's how material intelligence works.